Hey everyone, it's Alex and welcome to another edition of the Marvel Snap Decks of the Week. And if you'd like to support the content, consider hitting the like button. It helps tremendously and it's absolutely free. I'd sincerely appreciate it. But before we get into the decks, a reminder, because this is the first week of the season, there's no way to avoid it. We have to use bot-based statistics. So we are using untapped-based statistics from collection level 6,000 and above, rank 70 and above. So you are going to get some bot games. We're ranking the decks from average cube rate with a secondary characteristic considered of average win rate. So just bear that in mind when we go through these decks. We're going to be talking about Falcon 2, which is a 56% win rate deck with a 0.84 cube rate. This is currently the highest performing version of Joaquin Torres Falcon. The card is doing pretty well overall. It's not doing phenomenal, but it's good in bounce. And so if you're interested in playing bounce and getting that sweet those sweet resources from the weekend mission, then this is currently the best shell that you can do it. This one features the Iceman. It removes Agent Venom, which was prior to this video one of the top performing shells. So yeah, if you want to get that weekend mission done, here's a deck for you. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of practice. Anything with bounce does, but this is currently the best performing version of Joaquin Torres Falcon as the bonus deck. And now to our top 10, we have Scream at number 10 at a 66% win rate and a 0.97 cube rate. Scream is doing just as good as you would expect Scream to be doing. Obviously, Scream got changed from a 2/3 to a 2/2. Spider-Man got changed from a 3 cost to a 2 cost. But other than that, this has been pretty consistently the same deck for a long time, and it's performing pretty well. Juggernaut comes in, Juggernaut comes out. There's been one card moved here and there, but generally speaking, this has been the shell, and it's doing well. And it would not surprise me to know that it does do very well against bots. It does very well against players. It's just an all-around very good deck. It doesn't feast on bots the way that some of the other decks we'll be talking about will, but this will get you to infinite without question. And this has been a tried, tested, and true version of Scream. It does not surprise me that it's performing well. This is nothing fancy. This has been like the shell for the longest time, with the addition of, I'd say, Red Guardian. Red Guardian, a bit of an interesting tech piece that's being added here, but regardless, deck's performing great, as it always has. Coming in at number 9, we have a War Machine, and it's a Doom 2099 version of War Machine at running a 63% win rate and a 0.98 cube rate. Doom 2099 is all over the place, by the way, but there are a couple decks that are really performing well. We're going to talk about another one momentarily, but honestly, War Machine is just doing good. It's a great win rate, a great cube rate, and I like the fact that with Zabu, you're trying to get back to that old style of War Machine play where like you might be able to get Storm out on turn 3 and then play War Machine into Legion and stuff like that. Like it almost keeps that combo alive, but obviously it's much harder to pull off. Playing Infinite on turn 6 always feels great when you have the War Machine down. And when I was testing this deck, a thing that I found very fun was that discard is still very popular, in particular the Bullseye shell, my bad. But what I will say is that the Mobius and Mobius destroys that shell because the swarms don't get discounted with Mobius and Mobius on the board. So if you see a Morbius go down and you're holding Mobius and Mobius, definitely hit that snap button because that Bullseye is going to feel really bad really fast. Dawkins still represents a bit of a challenge, but overall you should be just fine. I do like this deck. It's doing well, and you know what? It's not like the menace that it was in the meta before, so you can't feel bad playing a little bit of Storm, Legion, and War Machine. Going to number 8 here, we got Hela. Now, this is the new version of Hela, currently one of the top, well, it is the top performing version of Hela. 59% win rate, which is expected. It's a little lower than some of the top performing shells because you are considering bot-based statistics, but the cube rate at 0.98 is high. It's just a good deck. It's just a good deck, and I mean, it's just well-rounded, and it feels like a really good take on Hela. It seems as though it checks all the boxes for what the new Hela is looking to do, and so if you're looking to play something that isn't like Bullseye discard, it's a shame that Black Knight's not really a thing, and obviously the dependable discard of classic Drac into Apocalypse Shell isn't outperforming the Hela version or the Bullseye version, but honestly, this is pretty spicy. I like playing it, even though I only played it a couple times because people still get mad at you for playing Hela. You play a Hela game and you're getting that Miss Marvel thumbs up whether you win or you lose, right? So I do like what they've done with Hela. At least it's a little more fascinating to play, a little more interactive. And so, and yeah, coming in at number 8 with a pretty good win rate and a pretty good cube rate. Coming in at number 7, we have Moonduck. Now, this is actually one of 2 ongoing decks, and I was super excited to see a Howard the Duck based deck doing as good as it is, but of course this is featuring Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, and it's running a 64% win rate, which is astronomical, and a 1.01 cube rate. Now, what I love about this deck is it does run the Howard the Duck and Iron Lad shell, which is a lot of fun. I do like that shell with ongoing because Howard the Duck is a 1-drop that wants that spectrum buff, right? We are running Moonstone here, no Wong, right? I almost when I was testing this deck, full disclosure, I was playing Wong in it. I liked it, but it's obviously greedy as hell. But what I will say is that like it actually is a really fun deck. The Ravonna play is really cool too, because Ravonna obviously helps both Mr. Fantastic, it helps Mystique, it helps Iron Man. It just has like a well-rounded approach to like closing out the game. So I like it a lot. I do like this deck a lot, and it's just fun to play Spectrum again. And this isn't even the last version of Ongoing we're going to be talking about. Captain America Sam Wilson has definitely brought Ongoing back. You absolutely love to see it, and Moonduck is a nice new take on that. Coming in at number 6, we do have Zoo. Nothing fancy about this. Zoo liked Sam Wilson because you have the extra 1-drop. It's indestructible, which, I mean, it gives you a little bit of, a little bit of counterplay towards the Killmonger. You still get destroyed by Killmonger, make no mistake. Now, in my testing, I actually ended up I took out the Kate Bishop and added Kyra because I felt a little better about it. Captain America maybe felt a little cope too, and I was trying to figure out whether or not Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, or Captain America was better for Kyra. I did ultimately feel more comfortable with Kyra, but I can absolutely understand if you're like, yeah, you don't need Kyra. Why would you play Kyra, right? But ultimately, this deck's pretty good. It's performing really well, and I just like the idea that Captain America is both of them is finally finding a spot in the meta and seeing a little bit of play. So I don't know if this will be where Zoo and Sam Wilson ultimately end up. I think there's still some refinement to go, but this is a pretty cool spot for it. I think it's a pretty nice looking list. So you'd love to see Zoo doing as good as it is. Coming in at number 5, we have Surtur, which should be of no surprise to anybody. It has a 62% win rate and a 1.04 cube rate. Surtur, honestly, is back. Ares has definitely been a fantastic addition to the deck and has really elevated it. You have the Iron Patriot in this shell as well, so if you're looking to play some Surtur or some Iron Patriot, get that weekend mission done for the gold, you can absolutely do it. Oh, what am I talking about? Iron Patriot's not even the season pass card anymore. Never mind, you ain't getting gold for playing Iron Patriot, but what you will get is cubes. This deck is phenomenal. I do like the addition of Hydra Bob in it, by the way. This is a bit of a new splash. We aren't seeing a lot of Surtur with Hydra Bob, but this is currently the highest statistical version of it. If you don't have Hydra Bob, you can just make like a standard Surtur deck, which is absolutely fine. But this is pretty cool. I like the tech in it. You've got the big chunky boys. Things are getting done. And of course, the armor and the cosmic feel pretty mandatory, while also giving you some pretty decent tech options in and of itself. So now this obviously is not the Arrow version. The Arrow version is slightly lower in the win rate. So if you don't have Hydra Bob, you can definitely add Arrow as a replacement. That is kind of like the most natural change there. But yeah, Surtur doing well. Should surprise nobody. And you are getting a Thaddeus Ross this week as well. So that just might be another addition to Surtur's archetype as a whole. We go to number 4, and it's Bullseye. 64% win rate, 1.09 cube rate. This deck still is incredibly popular, and it's still incredibly fun. Now, this is a bit of a different take on the Bullseye archetype. This is running the Moon Knight. It's not running Frigga. It's not running the Zola. This is currently the highest performing cube rate version of those decks. The Frigga and the Zola versions are still doing very well. It's kind of interesting because they're all like very, very close statistically. So if you I like the Zola version, then you can just play the Zola version, right? Or if you want to play pretty much any version of Bullseye, they're all performing very well. But this one here has Meek. I feel like some of them have been cutting Meek, and I totally disagree with that. I think Meek is so good in these decks. But it's cool to see Bullseye doing as well as it is. It definitely has been impressive since it came out that last season there. And yeah, it's been a very consistent deck, putting up very consistent numbers, and it's definitely going to get you to infinite if you played here. As we go into number 3. Number 3 here, we do have Mill. It's, you thought that some other decks were annoying. You thought Junk was annoying. You thought, how about Mill? Mill is legit back. Like, it is making such a comeback here. 65% win rate, 1.19 cube rate, and Zemo is all over the place right now. Red Guardian, you have the Killmonger. It's all tech pieces. This actually reminds me, I know this sounds a bit crazy, this has a very similar feel to like Sarah Control, like traditional Sarah Control, where it's like you just had all this random tech while also doing something else, right? This year, you're putting up like pretty significant power overall, but you're like creating so much disruption, right? You got the X factor of the Iron Patriot, you're stealing cards, you're blowing things up with Yondu, and a lot of players will not recognize the Killmonger component of this deck. It's not obvious that it's running something like a Killmonger, and so a lot of players, you could get some significant snap equity. Not everyone's watching these videos, and so like Lady Deathstrike, Killmonger, Red Guardian, like they could represent pretty strong plays to take your opponents by surprise. So do keep that in mind, right? Like if you're if you're playing against a a Morbius player, like a discard player playing Bullseye, and Morbius is sitting there and you're holding Red Guardian, like it feels like a snap condition, especially if you start blowing up everything in their deck because they don't trade very effectively into the Gladiator. Honestly, it's just good. It's a good list. Now, my preferred version still runs Ares, but Ares technically lowers the win rate and cube rate. This is the most optimal version, but I think Ares is fun in this deck because you just duel and they don't have any cards. You just win, right? So, but yeah, this is statistically the best, even though, what I do, I just crave fun every once in a while. New Ongoing. This is the highest performing version of Ongoing, and it is so fun to play. I do like the Howard version I talked about prior to, but at a 65% win rate and a 1.21 cube rate, the stats don't lie. This is a banger deck. Now, obviously, it runs the Psylocke, which lets you sneak out stuff like the Wong or the Doom 2099, which sets up some very interesting plays. With Wong on the board, and you can Spectrum, obviously, and pump all your Ongoings, but with Wong on the board, you can also get a Doom 2099 out, and then you can like Dr. Doom, which is kind of cool. And that was kind of one of the original lines we were trying to figure out when Doom 2099 came out. How many nines did I add to that? Wong always feels greedy, but with the Psylocke and you're able to kind of sneak it out early, it ends up being kind of fun. Again, if you really want to try something a little more straightforward, the Howard the Duck version is a little more straightforward. This one has a little more combo side to it. It's not even really that much of a combo deck, but it is fun. I'm just enjoying the fact that Spectrum's back. Do not nerf her again, Glenn. She doesn't deserve it. Let us enjoy the new Ongoing decks as we move on to deck number 1. And a reminder as I hit the deck number 1, hit that sub button if you aren't subbed already. About 35% of you guys aren't subbed, but no one has a higher sub rate than 35%. That doesn't make any sense. But negative Gore, 63% win rate, 1.40 cube rate. I don't know where I was going with my sub thing, but this deck is absolutely slapping. Now, the reason why this deck comes out on top this week is the same reason why it always comes on top on these weeks, is because the bots don't know what to do. Bots are so dumb, they snap into you because you have a negative on the board and you threw a location with negative and they're just like, LOL, I'm going into turn 5 and they have nothing. They snap, you snap back, and then you absolutely pump them. This is the I'm going to steal AQs from every bot I play against and retreat against every player I play against deck. Or conversely, if you don't draw, your negative on turn 4, you just leave, or you Psylocke snap into negative turn 3, they leave. Conversely, you play against a bot and smoke them free. Like, that's kind of the plan with this deck, but ultimately, still a good deck overall, but bots just do not understand how to approach this deck at all. So thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you on that next Marvel Snap video.